If you are finding that at the minute you are struggling financially with being able to keep on track and keep to budget, then I highly recommend a no spend month or a no spend year to help you out. So let's prep for a no spend year. Hi, my name's Rachel. I do videos about decluttering, minimalism and my no spend year, and this is going to be the, I want to say fourth year of doing a no spend. For a no spend month or a no spend year, this is when we reduce down how much we're spending in different areas. That is kind of the excess money or the spare money that you might have. And there's probably more than you think, and we're going to go through the strategies for how to best succeed at a no spend year. So there's lots of reasons why you might want to take on a no buy year, and the obvious is to save a lot of money. Not spending means there's more money in the bank for you, either for paying off debt or for savings. So you're absolutely going to save money. The less obvious reasons are some of my favourite. The main one being that I learnt how to understand my attachment to things. We have these things, don't we, that we keep and they are like a hold on us and it's really hard to let go. And what I discovered when I wasn't spending and I was kind of taking stock of the things that I did have, I had a new understanding of my attachment. So when I did start spending, I spotted those triggers quite quickly so that I could curb it, so I could stop, pause and then get back on track again. And the last reason it made me a better consumer, I was consuming less in general in the environment. I was thinking about the things that I was purchasing, whether or not they were of quality and making sure that they were going to last. It also made me think about, did I really need it? Am I buying it for the sake of it? The less that I bought, the better I felt, because it just meant that I wasn't adding to the extensive amount of stuff that we send to landfill. It just made me more conscious about my purchases, so I wasn't buying things that just were kind of tat. I think about the items that I'm buying and I make sure that I'm conscious about whether or not they're good for the environment. So in order to be successful for a no buy year or a no buy month, then you need to think about your reasons why you are doing it. You need your motivator. You need to know what it is you're working towards, because that little motivator is key. It's going to get you going again when you are in a difficult patch. It's going to help you when you're struggling and feeling overwhelmed. It's going to help you persevere when you are kind of getting itching to start spending again. That motivation keeps you on track and it keeps you accountable. So think about your reasons. Are you trying to just reduce your spend? Are you trying to save? Are you trying to clear debt? Are you trying to be a better consumer and be more conscious about your purchases? Are you wanting to save for something big, like a bigger purchase, like a holiday? So you need a reason, and that is your outcome for the no spend. So that's going to keep you going and it's going to help you stay on track. The next thing you need to do is you need to review your spending. So this is really important. You need to know what it is you're spending money on. And honestly, it's eye-opening. When I first did this, if you'd have asked me, I wouldn't have been able to tell you what I was spending 600 or 700 spare pounds a month on. I didn't know. And I didn't have anything physical that I could say, I've bought this nice item. That it was just tat, it was just rubbish, it was just unnecessary things, and that looking back at spend helps you to know where your triggers might be, and it helps you to think about which areas you need to focus in on to be able to reduce down. So for me, I used to buy books a lot and that has been so much better. I'm now only buying maybe 1 or 2 books in a whole year, because I know that actually I've got so many books already, I don't need to buy anymore. I just like to buy my favourite author when they bring out a new book. You are learning your triggers. It'll help you to think about whether or not you are one of those people that are a middle aisle person that gets caught up in all those extra items that are in the middle of the shops that are trying to get your attention that you are perhaps not needing when you're on a food shop. It's identifying when it is you are spending and what you are spending on. If you're enjoying this video so far, don't forget to leave a comment below and don't forget to click the bell for notifications and subscribe to my channel if you want to see more videos like this. And this leads nicely into your creating of your own rules. This leads nicely into creating your own rules, and this is where it's really going to be personal to you. I have a set of rules that I go by, so I'll share some of those with you shortly, but you want to know what you are and aren't allowed to do, which areas do you maybe have restrictions on, and which areas are you allowed a little bit more leeway. And this is where I create a set amount that I'm allowed to have for a month. So know what it is that you are going to be allocating to yourself, because there are things that come up and those kind of things need to be dealt with or paid for. So you need to have that money available, but you need to think about what the limit is in how much you're going to spend in these areas. At the minute, I've been giving myself a budget of about £100 a month, and some months that has worked really well and some months that has not worked. It's about knowing what you think is going to be working for you. So an example of some rules might be that you're only allowed to buy replacement makeup or replacement items rather than just buying excess. You need to get in the habit of using things up and only buying replacements if you don't have a spare. The same goes for only buying replacements maybe when an item of clothing is damaged. It might be that you're allowed to spend money on social activities, but you're not allowed to spend money on homewares. So think about which rules might be most applicable to you. Next thing you need to do is automate either your savings or debt payments so that you are automatically taking that money out so that you cannot spend it. This is really quite key. I always do this right at the very beginning of the month. I set my bills to come out by the 2nd of the month, and any extra money that is left after the 2nd, that is my spare money, or it's for petrol and food. So it means that I've got all my other direct debits that are regular that come out, and I can easily track how much I've got left. So I don't have to keep thinking and working out what I'm doing. So I automate then my savings to come out from the 2nd. I know that that amount of money is going to go straight away so that I don't have it sat in my account being tempted to spend it. So decide what you're doing. Are you going to automate extra payments to your debt or extra payments into your savings account? You don't have to set it as a direct debit, but it's really handy if you can automatically do that at the very beginning of each month so that you are not tempted to spend. Your next tip is to continue to track your spend. And this is where people get a little bit lost, and this is where people often fall off the wagon, so to speak. This is why I have a budget planner, and this is why I collect my receipts for anything that is spend, food or petrol, and then I track it. So I track all my spend here, and I say how much I spent when and what it was in which category. So I itemise the categories so that at the end of the year, I can then go and look through and see how much I spent within each category. So I know how much I spent on clothing, how much I spent on books, how much I spent on makeup, for example. So having that each month though is really handy for the food shop. So I know after each week how much I've spent and if I'm on track. If I know I've overspent one week, it means that I've got the opportunity the next week to reduce down the spend. So it does make it easier if you are regularly checking in. So I highly recommend once a week that you update your budget planner and you track your receipts. The next thing you want to do to make sure that you're really successful is to tell people that are really important to you that you're doing a no spend year. If they know that you are trying to not spend too much money, they can be a little bit more mindful about the activities they do with you and make sure that they are a little bit more budget friendly. You're not saying to them that they have to all be free activities, you're just saying that you need to be mindful of your activities. So you decide how you want that conversation to go, but I do find it's really helpful that key people that I spend the most time with know what I'm doing, because they can help me be accountable, they can check in with me, they can make sure I'm okay, and they can also give me an opportunity to share how I'm getting on. So it makes it a bit more interesting, you get to have conversations about it, and it makes you a little bit more accountable. The next thing, which is connected to that automating of savings and paying of debt, is to make sure that you have got sinking funds set up for what you need through the year. It might be that you have a sinking fund that covers any birthdays that you might pay for, any gifts that you might have in the year that you need to buy. You know roughly who you might be buying for, and you could give a rough budget for how much each person would be, and then try and set that money aside at the beginning of the year so that whenever a birthday comes up, you have got a pot of money that you are buying from, and you don't have to use any other money or any other spare money or your spend money to pay for it, because you've already allocated for it. The same goes for Christmas. You can have a sinking fund for Christmas. So if you know roughly how much you're going to spend, put that aside in January and February, the beginning of the year, and then you know that if you see things throughout the year, you've got that pot of money ready to buy that gift. You could also do that for making sure you've got emergency money that just covers if you lose your job. So the recommendation is 3 months, but I think a lot of people do say it's probably safer to do a 6-month backup of enough money to cover your essential bills for 6 months or 3 months. It just means that if anything happens, you're not going to be completely dry of money. You have got something there just in case. It would be fair to say that my last year, so this year, has been more of a low buy rather than a no buy, because in the summer I went a little bit off track. I was spending my spare money on travel, which is what I'd agreed in my rules, but I was finding that I was kind of a little bit bored over summer. I felt like I needed to compensate by buying things, and it's tricky when you get into those situations, isn't it? But there's no point being hard on myself. I recognise it. I know that that was a kind of turning point for me, and I have managed to get a little bit more back on track in the last kind of quarter of the year. So it has made me reassess, come back and know what it is that I want to do. For my spend, I give myself a certain amount a month, and that's the thing that was kind of a little bit debatable. I was supposed to only have about 100, and I was definitely spending more on some months than others. So the categories within that I track are food and socialising, homeware, parking, clothing, gifts, beauty, books, and activities and days out. So that was everything within my budget for spend. I also share on my channel all about my food budget and my petrol budget. I mean, the petrol doesn't really matter, to be fair. It's the food budget that matters, isn't it? That one definitely went off track in the middle of the year, but I have reined it in and I am back on track and I'm sticking to my budgets. That has been really helpful by tracking my food bill, because that means that I can keep on task, keep on budget, and know where my money is going. So let's have a look at my budget plan for my no spend year. I think I need to take it down. I have been 100 and I know I've struggled, but I'm on it this year. I'm going to be saving like mad. I've got a plan. I'm going to give myself £80 a month to spend. That's the equivalent of about £20 a week, let's say. For food, I'm going to budget £70 a week. That has been working really well. And so if one month has 4 weekends in it, then it's 280. If it has 5 weekends in a month, then it's 350. So that's how that one will work. And for petrol, I'm going to budget £35 a week. I have a feeling that I don't really need to track that one, so I might stop that one. I will track it for my own personal benefit, because I like to see how much the petrol prices is going up and down, and just checking that I'm using the right literage. But I don't think I'm going to share that with you, because I don't think you want to know about my petrol. With spare money, I do want to allow myself to buy tickets to events, music events, or kind of days out thing. That's not going to be in my spend allocated amount. It's not going to be limited, but it will be shared. So I'm going to buy tickets for things and I'm going to allow that. That's one of my kind of exception rules. I'm allowed to buy tickets because I want to build up next year an array of activities, either me or me and my son, so that we're really getting out and we're doing things. So tickets to events and things are allowed and they are not restricted. So how I set up my budget planner. So I've kind of said already, I've got quite a few empty pages which I don't really use. It's a bit bad really, isn't it? So this is pretty much all I use. I could have just bought a notebook really, but I've got this here. It does have lots of sections where you can add more details, and it does have a savings tracker and a debt tracker. As you can see, I have not saved in my ISA or my stocks and shares ISA. I've not saved, and that's the problem. That's why I'm knuckling down this year There's a savings tracker here, so each one of those I can share how much I put in, and I also have a debt tracker. I've already paid off my car, I just have a credit card that I pay off each month, so that doesn't really need to be tracked. So I don't really have debt to track, but I do have savings to track. So that might be really helpful if you are trying to pay it off. I suggest you have each section kind of filled in, and then each month when you make a payment, mark it off and reduce down what you've got left, reduce down the balance. So it just helps you to keep on track. They do have summary sections, so that's what I'll use to track the end of the year in each category, and it does have some dotted pages as well. So whilst I usually have a Go Girl budget planner, I've got a very similar one. I've gone with a wire bound planner, and this one I got off of Amazon, and it's very similar in style. It still gives me the opportunity to set some financial goals. It still gives me spaces to track debt and to track savings, but it also gives me my expenses tracker that I need for my everyday expenses. It's colour coded along the edges for the different months of the year, so it means I can easily look at each month, and then I've got space to review. It gives me opportunities to do an overview and also the whole month and just check that it was what I'd predicted. And then also I've got the space for the daily expenses. There's also space for a Christmas budget plan. So this is a great opportunity for next year if you're thinking about making sure you're getting that sinking fund ready and planning your gifts and knowing how much you're going to spend. It will help you. It's also got the summary of the year pages and a notes section. So that's my planner for this next year. There's not really much to set up really within the planner because all the pages are kind of already set out. So let's have a look at what my no spend rules are going to be. First of all, I can buy replacement makeup, and I have been pretty good with that one. I don't think I've bought anything that I haven't really used. I buy replacement of the same foundation, the same kind of eyeshadow. I think I've only bought one eyeshadow this year. I'm using what I have before I purchase new. My next rule is that I'm allowed to buy children's clothes because I have a growing teenager, and literally every 2 or 3 months I'm having to buy new clothes. Every 2 or 3 months I'm having to buy new clothes, so I do need to keep on top of that one. It is what it is. I can buy tickets for events without it being limited. That is with my spare money that I have, and I will document that in a separate category so that I can show you how much I spend each month on tickets. If I buy homeware, it must be purposeful and it must add to my daily life. So it needs to be an impactful purchase. It can't just be a random gadget that I might use once. And like last year, if I get gift cards or vouchers, I can spend them as I wish on whatever I wish. And my other rule is I'm going to automate savings at the beginning of the month so that I am definitely saving and not spending. So if you're wanting some tips on how to be successful with your no buy year, these are some of the things that I've done over the past few years that have really helped me to focus in and understand my attachment to things. So the first thing that I did, which actually is what started me on a decluttering journey, was to declutter my home, and I've been doing that for, well, almost 3 years now. And what I've done is I've made money with it, I've sold things for money, and that has been used to pay off debt. And that was a really helpful assessment of how I use things within my home. I sold things that I wasn't really using, and the more I did, the easier it got when it came to decluttering. So you can start little acts at a time. So I share little acts of decluttering on all of my social media channels. One little thing to do every single day, one area that you can focus on so that you can keep chipping away at the clutter. I have written a book, The Little Acts of Decluttering, which is also available, and I have made it into a diary. So all of next year's Little Acts of Decluttering are mapped out for 2024. So if you want to follow along and make 2024 your year for decluttering, then do have a look at that. It's really worth thinking about how you could be proactive in the decluttering. So as you're decluttering, ask yourself some really key questions. Have you used it in the last 12 months? Are you likely to use it in the next 12 months? Is it purposeful? Is it a duplicate? Does it make you happy? Is it making you feel good when you look at it or hold it? Is it an item that is past its date? Is it expired? You might have expired medicine, expired food, or expired makeup that's been open too long. Think about whether or not it is still in date and decide if it's something that if you broke it or it got lost, would you replace it? That's a nice question to ask yourself about some of the items. Makes you really think about whether or not you would value it again if you had it again. My next tip to help you with the no spending is to unsubscribe and unfollow anybody that's encouraging you to spend money, or the shops that you normally buy from, the newsletters that you get on your emails for various different companies that you might normally spend with. I would unsubscribe or unfollow from any that are going to tempt you. It will be that trigger that you see on a regular basis, and it will make it harder to keep on track. And also within that, think about any influencers that you follow. Are they encouraging you to buy things? If they're showing you lots of outfits all the time, does it make you want to buy outfits? Is it tempting you too much to see those examples in your feed all the time? So have a real think about what it is you want to follow to help you be motivated. There are lots of great accounts that work on focusing in self-care, about minimalism and decluttering that might help you keep on track. You could join support groups that are going to keep you focused. That's a really great way of getting a bit of a community feel for it, because it can be isolating when you're not going out to spend. If you've got a team of people that are with you in the same mindset, it's going to keep you going. And the next thing to do is to make sure that you celebrate those milestones. So if you're trying to save or if you're trying to pay off debt, celebrate those milestones. They're really important. If you have cleared one of your debts, celebrate, acknowledge it, and make sure that you are given those little wins. It could be that you just buy a chocolate bar with that. It's okay. Have a little win and know that you have done really well for clearing that debt or for starting to save. Another thing that I'm going to do to keep myself on track is I have ordered, and I'll share a picture here, a 100 envelope saving challenge that is going to help me to save cash when I've sold things, or I'm going to take it out of my bank to help me to keep on track. But I'm going to start saving cash, and I'm going to do it with a purpose. So with this wallet, this one here, you save the number of pounds from 1 to 100. So there's 100 envelopes and each of them are labelled with a number, and that's how many pounds you put into that envelope. So it's like plastic wallets that you put the money into, which is really great. So with the 100 envelope savings challenge, I need to give myself a bit of a goal. And one thing I would like to do, probably not next year, maybe the year after, maybe in a couple of years, is to buy a puppy. That's what I would like to do. And also I would like to do more holidays next year. So the savings is going to go towards a puppy. That's the main 100 envelope saving challenge. And if I save every number, which is £1 up to £100 in the envelope, I will have £5,050 to spend. So that means that I will have plenty of money to buy a puppy and to buy accessories and pay for insurance, etc. It covers everything. So that's kind of my goal. I know I'm not going to achieve that in the first year, but it's having a bit of a motivator for me, and it's making me think, okay, well, if I can start saving, it might help me in other ways. So I'm going to share that in my no spend month review each month, and I will also share it on my social media channels. So I have Instagram, TikTok and Facebook, so if you want to follow along for my savings challenge, then I will be putting it on there as well. So hopefully that's everything you need to be able to prep for a no buy year. You found out a little bit about mine, how mine have got on, and my plans for next year. So let me know in the comments below what your plan is for your no spend year. Are you saving? Are you clearing debt? Share what you're going to do and we can motivate each other. And I should be back for more videos soon. Take care. Bye.